talking Illinois high school football.
If your goals are as high as you talk about, tonight's the night you go out and just take one more step.
It's a view from the West.
And it starts right now!
Welcome into View from the West podcast, the podcast covering Illinois high school football on the western side of the state. I'm your host, Greg Armstrong, joined once again, as always, by Mitch Stormer, also joined by Kyle Kampmier from NUIC football. Mitch, I think it's safe to say, we talk about a lot of things that are, defining characteristics of this time of year. It's Kyle Kampmier season. Absolutely.
Yeah, if there's one guarantee in years of recent memory, if we're talking about the state championships, we're talking about Kyle and NUIC football. So, yeah, it only makes sense to have him here with us, and certainly hope fans are going to get used to that because you're going to get a lot of it in the next couple of days.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of simulcasting already being done and will continue to be done. So, Kyle, welcome into the show. Welcome back. I know you got your own schedule, your own plans this week, but I wanted to bring you in for your knowledge and your expertise and for the entertainment value of always having you on. So, welcome in and big plans. The hotels are booked. The plans are being made. We're ready to head to normal.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great production meeting last night to go over these plans that we have. We're going to have a
first time we've ever done that.
I know. We're going to have a large team there collectively between your group and our group collaborating together. We're going to put on a production that nobody's seen before on small school side of football outside of what they see on the TV. And, I mean, going through those coaches' interviews today, that was rough.
So you're referring to the media call that happens from the IHSA the morning of the Monday of the state championships. So I did not join in that. I know, Mitch, you were a part of the festivities there.
I listened to the first. I listened to the 1A coaches before we jumped into talking to them ourselves, and I didn't catch any of the other ones. But following along on X, especially with some of the bigger schools, there was some comments once again from Jordan Lynch about this, that, and the other thing. I heard East St. Louis was a no-show on the call, and it sounded great, of all things, and I can't believe I missed it, but at the same time, it's I don't need to hear all that either.
Well, let's talk a little more on the positive side of things. If you're looking for coaches' thoughts and insights heading into the state championship games on the 1A through 3A side of things, View from the West has you covered. Our coaching conversations are back. The 2025 state championship editions, we talked to both head coaches from 1A, 2A, and 3A. Those interviews are all available right now on our YouTube channel. So once you're done listening to this episode, you can go back, listen to those episodes. They're great. Mitch, it's a lot of fun catching up with coaches, certainly from our area in Lena Winslow and Byron, but really got some good stuff out of the other coaches. Good to meet them, good to get a face behind the name and really get to learn about their program.
Yeah, it really was. Certainly we, talked to Rick at Lee Wynn last year. We talked to Josh at Monroe Forsyth last year, but getting to know these coaches that we hear about their teams quite a bit, but being able to see them on camera and talk to them and learn their story. Yeah, it was a great morning of talking to those coaches, and those will be good interviews to go back and listen to. So I hope the fans enjoy them.
Yeah, so that's a really good way to preview those 1A through 3A, 1A, 2A, and 3A state championship games, to hear directly from the head coaches involved in those games. That's a lot of fun. So like I said, those are available right now. On this episode, certainly we're going to get into previewing the state championship games. 1A, 2A, and 3A will really be our point of focus. We will get into 4A through 8A a little bit, talk about the matchup, what we think stands out to us, but our real focus is on Lena Winslow from the Northwest Upstate Illini, who we cover week in and week out, and Byron from the Big Northern Conference as well. So those two teams, I would say safe to say, based on recent history and what they've done this year, favorites going into their matchups, teams we've talked about all year with the potential to be here, and they've matched that expectation. They're here now, so really exciting stuff. So like I said, tonight's the preview episode. If you want to go back and kind of hear what led up to this week, We'll talk about the semifinals. That was in our Instant Reacts podcast. We were live Saturday night, 9:30, after Kyle and I had been at Stockton covering the Lena Winslow victory over the Blackhawks, getting a little revenge there from their Week 2 result. Mitch, you were also following along. I believe you watched the entirety of the Byron game, their win over Richmond Burton. So go back. I encourage everyone, go back, listen to that Instant Reacts podcast. We really dive into everything that went into those semifinal matchups. We talk a lot about other classes as well. We had Matt Now in. He really knows the Chicago area really well, and he was also at Wilmington. So he provided a little bit of color, a little bit of insight into that Wilmington win. They're in the state championship game also as a favorite going in. So a lot of great stuff to talk about. Mitch and Kyle, I'm really excited, though. Before we get into everything, I want to talk about what's coming down the road on Friday morning and Friday throughout the day. I really believe I'm really proud of the fact that between NUIC football and View from the West, I really believe we're going to bring you the most comprehensive, informative, and entertaining coverage of 1A through 3A especially, and a little bit into that 4A game. Kyle, tell us about what we got planned, what we got cooking for Friday at Hancock Stadium.
Well, obviously, it's going to start off first with our 8:30 Class 1A state championship game preview between Lena Winslow and Brown County, and that'll be live on YouTube, both on NUIC Football and View from the West channel, so you can pick whatever channel you want to go to. It's going to be there live, like you said, Greg, simultaneously, which is awesome. I mean, I just love the fact that we're able to do this stuff and just bring it to a whole nother level. Then we're also going to grab live press conferences. I'm not sure how you guys are doing it. I'm going to have it on our Facebook page live there. I have an additional person I'll be putting on that. In the meantime, myself and Mitch are going to get prepared with Matt Surdich and Ty Taylor to begin the prep work for and then go live for the Class 2A game preview between Wilmington and Maroa Forsyth. We have that scheduled to start up about 12:30 p.m. And then we're going to be back live again for the Class 3A preview around 3:30 to showcase the Byron and Unity game. So it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm very excited for this. Obviously on the sidelines, Greg, you're going to be getting video. Shimdog's going to be down there getting video. We're going to have additional photographers available to get all state picks. Collectively, I know we've done a lot collaboratively over the past couple of years, but this year is going to be the best and biggest of them all.
Yep, I completely agree. Mitch, you looking forward to, not just that preview episode, that preview live show before 1A, but now to break it down, a 1A episode, you'll have a 2A live stream and a 3A live stream. So every game gets their own live episode or their own live preview. I think is really exciting.
I mean, as Kyle just explained, we're going to have every square inch of Friday covered, and I don't know how many people can say that they've done that. So I'm really excited for the collaboration here, and yeah, whether it's pregame stuff, whether it's in-game, and certainly post-game and pregame, like we're going to have you covered. So again, check out all of our channels. We'll post links throughout the day. Listeners to this episode already know where to find both of our channels, so that won't be a problem. But yeah, 8:30 in the morning, starting up coverage. You can't beat it.
So the real wild card in all of this is I think there's like a tentative plan for an Instant Reacts podcast at the end of the day as well. So when the coverage is wrapped up, when we maybe leave Hancock Stadium, maybe after a quick stop at Pub 2, if I'm being honest, then we maybe hit we thinking like the hotel lobby maybe, and we just set up a laptop and a microphone and just hit record.
Oh,
or
for
not
sure.
Hit record. We just hit the go live button and maybe break down everything we saw. I think all year long is built to this, right? I think we got to go live with an Instant Reacts to kind of wrap everything up.
1,000%. We're definitely doing a hotel Instant Reacts from the lobby There might be some lobby beers involved. Don't be upset if there is. It's just a culmination to bring the season to a wind down.
If you've thought the Instant Reacts has been unhinged in the past, just wait until Friday night.
That's fair. That's fair. So, all right. So there you go. There's kind of a look at everything we got planned. A bunch of stuff coming up. Like we said, that live show before the 1A game to preview that, the live show before 2A, and a live show before 3A. Right now, we have a UniView episode also available. So, Mitch, we preview the state championship games, but the UniView episode is really the most unique way to preview those state championships. And we've already had some people on X reaching out saying, can't wait to listen.
Yeah, I think it's always one of my favorite episodes that we do. This year took a little bit extra prep time now that we realized who was the home team. And the rules surrounding that and when that changed, but that's okay. So yeah, that's a fun episode. We love talking uniforms. Everyone knows that. Possible that we didn't even get the right combinations because some of these schools have 3 or 4 different jerseys, but we were able to kind of learn ahead of time what some of these guys are wearing, and that helped. So yeah, check that episode out. It's fun. It's a great aesthetic looking episode.
Mitch, I won't pretend to be, a ball knower of 8-man football in the state of Illinois, but how about getting direct messages from the Caravan, from Mount Carmel, sending us messages about their uniform choice?
8A football. You said 8-man.
Oh, sorry. 8.
Yes. That was completely unexpected. So to set the tone on that, I just sent a quick message on X last night, and I just said, hey, Caravan football, what are we thinking for Saturday? And I said, brown on brown, brown on white, or brown on yellow. And then out of the blue, I didn't even know Caravan football followed us, sends us a DM with an extensive history of uniforms and why they wear this and why they don't wear this on certain games. So it was awesome. So yeah, shout out to the Caravan, my favorite uniform in all of Illinois, for their information. That was great.
Yep. So there you go. That UniView episode is available right now, and that's going to be a YouTube exclusive, because if you're talking uniforms and we're talking about the look, you got to be able to see it. So I encourage everyone to go check that out if you're interested in what the teams are wearing on Friday and Saturday, because not only do we have the conversation and the breakdown, we got the images right there. So you can see, you can watch along, you can, maybe choose your own. Pick what school you prefer, what uniform you prefer best. So, all right, there you go. That's the table setting. I think we're ready to talk some state championship football, and it all starts in Class 1A. Lena Winslow back to the IHSA state championship game for the 6th season in a row. This year, they will go up against Mount Sterling Brown County from Mount Sterling, Illinois. It is their first appearance in the state title game, so kind of a juxtaposition here. 2 teams, 2 programs coming at it from different viewpoints. But Mitch, after talking to Coach Little from Brown County today, really fun program to follow, fun program to root for, because, man, what they've done in the last few weeks to really kind of avenge some losses and find themselves playing their best football the best time of year, it's an interesting story to follow for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how I worded it in our group text. I found it. I said, Tom Little with Brown County was fun to talk to, and it makes you really believe and want them to win, because it's just a great story. And there was a story that came out today from Muddy River Sports, our friends Matt Schuckman and Chris Dewar, and their staff, about how Coach Little kept a 2024 state championship ticket on his dresser on his counter at home. And he used it as motivation from that day on, and he just kept the belief that he thought that his team was talented enough to get back or to get to a state championship. And lo and behold, he gets there, and on the media call, he was very emotional recounting that story. When we talked to him, it was a little bit after that, so he had already gotten the tears and such out of the way. But it's such a fun story, and it seems like it's a great coaching staff. A lot of similarities, with Lena Winslow, not just in terms of how they play, but just the camaraderie of their players and their coaching staff. So, yeah, really excited to have Brown County here. It's always fun to see a new team get in, right? And the way that they've done it, very cool, very good story, and looking forward to seeing them in action.
Yeah. I mean, the stories that Matt Shuckman and Chris Dewar pull out from Muddy River Sports are just
like this week, like everyone listening to this, please go to Muddy River Sports. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better team to make the state championship from like a deep dive journalistic, perspective, because Matt and Chris are going to be, are going to be all over it. Just starting today, and even Matt had said on the Instant Reacts with us on Saturday, like, he doesn't know how he's going to fit in a bunch of the stories that he's wanting to tell. So if that's the first one, I imagine he's got more. And so really looking forward to seeing that coverage this week.
Yeah, the detail of, like, he pulls the ticket off the desk and there's the dust remained where it sat for a full year. The detail is incredible. It's just, yeah.
Capital J journalist, for
That's
sure.
Right. No doubt about it. So, Kyle, looking at this Brown County team in our game day preview at Stockton before the games kicked off on Saturday morning, I talked about how I really felt like, maybe throughout the year there were some hiccups, but it seemed like Brown County, especially after getting that win over Camp Point Central, maybe they'd figure some things out. And all of a sudden it seemed like they were playing their best football. And, man, they inch it out. They get the huge stop when they need to. Tell us about that game, and then tell us about some of the players here on Brown County we need to watch for.
Well, yeah, I mean, first off, Brown County was a team that myself and Logan had talked about being a team to watch coming into the season. And, if you go back to like week 4 or 5, whenever it was, and I think I was on your guys' show, I stated there was 3 teams from the South I was looking at. It was Camp Point Central, it was Calhoun, and it was Brown County. And like you said, Brown County played both of those teams in the regular season, lost, met up with both of them now in the playoffs, and were able to avenge those losses. And yes, I mean, their games against Camp Point Central and Calhoun have been close. They lost in the regular season 27-6 to Camp Point Central. They turned that around into a 16-8 win, forcing 4 turnovers there. They took a 21-12 loss to Calhoun in week 9 and turned that around into a 14-13 win. And ironically, I was just talking to one of my friends down in Central Illinois, Matt Strohecker. He sent me a clip of the last 2-point try for Calhoun. It was actually an illegal formation. They only had 6 guys on the line of scrimmage. It never got called, and Calhoun was supposed to be set up in power I, but there was no person on the line of scrimmage on that right side, and it failed, and the refs didn't catch it either. So it was just an interesting point. Obviously, it was a penalty that never got called, end up not mattering either because Brown County was able to stop that run. But to dig down deep and be able to get that gritty win when they weren't the favorite going in, but it was a slight favorite at that on top of it. I mean, it was a toss-up game. There's a lot of people that feel like Calhoun just shot themselves in the leg, and they feel that Calhoun was the better team, but it's Brown County that was able to persevere and get the win. And going back to like what you said, Mitch, I mean, you got Tom Little, who had played for and coached under Jim Unruh. Heath Fullerton played at Aledo. He coached under Jim Unruh. Lyle Klein is actually a Savannah grad, and he coached under Jim Unruh. You have Trent Harrelson there, who is a Carrollton grad. He was on the 14 runner-up team for Carrollton as well. And then, Jared Hoots, the defensive coordinator, who's also the head baseball coach for Brown County, was able to get the Hornets to the state championship game for the first time in school history back in 2022, and now helping to get the football team to the state championship for the first time here in 2025. And he's actually from Winchester originally, which is just outside of Jacksonville. So he's a WIBC native and on top of it, along with Trenton. And then Sean Volk is there too, who's a Brown County grad as well. So it's just, obviously there's a lot of things with a lot of history that breeds championship type success. And Mitch, I think you were still on the call at the time when Coach Little was on there, and he talked about, when he first took over the program, it was hard. And if you look back at their history, they only made the playoffs 2 years before Little got there. So this is their 20th playoff appearance. 18 have come under Coach Tom Little.
What do you got, Mitch?
I was going to say, just to back up real quickly to that 2-point conversion by Calhoun, that was even possible because of a penalty as well. That Calhoun had scored, they went to kick the extra point, and I think they missed the kick, and the crowd's going nuts. But then you see the flag on the field, and you saw it live. Like, it wasn't like a bad flag or anything, but running into the kicker or roughing the kicker, whatever it was. So they got to move the ball up and try again. So, yeah, very fortunate for Brown County to have not or to have stopped that even on an illegal formation. So,
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was going to say is, because I just realized this, they had 3 rematches in the playoffs and they won all 3. I would be hard pressed to know any team, and maybe some CPL teams run into this, or not CPL. I'm sorry, CCL. Maybe they run into this, but yeah, Carrollton, Calhoun, and Camp Point Central, they all played in the regular season against Brown County, and those are 3 of Brown County's playoff wins. That's incredible that they had three rematches.
Another thing that makes this kind of odd, too, this reminds me of the 2011 Dakota team that came into the playoffs at 7-2. They also had to play a non-conference opponent in round 1 and then hit 3 consecutive conference opponents and had to avenge 2 losses in that time, along with the defending state champs at the time. So they got Lena Winslow in round 2. They had to avenge a loss against Forreston in round 3, and then Ackwen in round 4.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, who are some of the names here on Brown County that people need to know about? They may have learned about it through your show the last couple weeks, but
yeah. So obviously everything runs through Trey Fullerton first. He's the big fullback and pretty good sized kid too. Has a lot of beef on him. He's going to be a hard player to bring down. He has 158 attempts on the season. So, I mean, he carries the ball. 815 yards, 17 touchdowns. And then you have Jack Sefton, who is more of a scat back type, 54 attempts, 687 yards, 11 touchdowns. His yard per carry average is 12.7. And then you have Eli Staten as well, 89 attempts, 583 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, they're going to run a wing T, double wing style offense. Very similar to what we see up here. Also very similar with what Camp Point Central runs. They run strictly double wing, but we're going to see more wing T out of Brown County. Some other guys to look at, obviously, are Bo Little, which is Coach Little's one son, and then Brody Phelps as well. Brody Phelps, 418 yards with 2 touchdowns, and Bo Little has 334 yards with 5 touchdowns. Quarterback in the team is the coach's other son, Vince Little. He has 51 completions on 83 attempts for 734 yards, 11 touchdowns now to just 1 interception. His key receivers are Brody Phelps and Bo Little. Bo has 9 receptions for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brody has 8 receptions, 156 yards with a touchdown. And then Bradley Markert and Jack Sefton are also key contributors, along with Micah Henry. All of them are right around 6'5", 7 receptions, all sitting around 80 yards receiving. All have 1 or 2 touchdowns as well. So they spread it out pretty well to keep people off of the keys. But, basic wing T principles. They're going to run first, and they're going to establish a run and then look to go play action after that.
yeah. I think you mentioned, was it Brody Phelps, who we talked to coach a little bit, and he was a guy they looked at, early in the season as getting some production, and he did, and he got banged up, got hurt, sat out a little while. I think they're hoping he's on his way back, so I think, hopefully for him and for this Brown County team, he's on the field. When you get to a state championship game, you want everybody playing to get to experience that. So hopefully he's out there playing. So it sounds like that's a guy that they looked at a lot, especially early in the year. So, yeah, like we've talked about, I think Brown County is in some ways a lot, very similar to Lena Winslow. So I guess let's get into it. Lena Winslow comes in as the prominent favorite here because of their track record, because of what they've done. They avenge a loss over Stockton in the semifinals. They went on the road to Stockton in the semifinals. They get the win there. Was it 30-16 was the final?
30-16, yep.
30-16 final. It was tied 8-8 at halftime. And, credit to Stockton, because after what could have been a disastrous start, they fumble the opening kickoff. Lena Winslow gets a short field, makes it 8-0 on an Alex Schlichting touchdown. And then from there, Stockton kind of limited what Lena Winslow could do early on. They didn't give up any more points in the first half. They were able to capitalize through the air. Larson connected with his wide receivers and was able to get a touchdown to tie it at 8 at halftime. And then it felt like in that second half, Lena Winslow got the ball and they drove downfield very effectively, scored on that opening drive, and it felt like they really grabbed that momentum, Kyle, coming out of the break.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you can put together a drive like they did there, and emphatically as they did, it spoke a lot to what they were able to do, and then able to continue to replicate as the game went on. It goes back to like what Coach Aaron said. He goes, we just dominated the line of scrimmage, and you could see it actually wearing down on Stockton. This is the first time all year I've seen Stockton's line get wore down. I've seen them get beat, like I said before. I've watched Dupek beat them up, but when it came down to clutch time, it was Stockton doing the beatdown. This was the first time they got dominated all year, and it showed. I felt like even after that first touchdown in the second half, I was like, all right, well, start the second half like you did the first half. And Stockton came up clutch on that 2-point conversion and keep them out of the end zone to keep it 14-8, which definitely helps keep that momentum a little bit, because you're like, all right, we're going to get back on the offense. We can go down, and if we punch it in, now we can get the lead. So I don't think that one necessarily hurt, but the first wild touchdown run, that was the back killer. That's the one that really killed it, because that gave them a 2-touchdown lead, and you could just feel the air lifting out of Stockton at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was interesting talking to Coach Aaron earlier today, and he somewhat admitted that in that week 2 game, when Stockton came to their place, they were opening the new turf field and the new facility, the upgrades there. He said that, not making excuses because they didn't play as well as they should have, but maybe that they were, the focus was, there was distractions that week going into that game. And Mitch, I thought that was really interesting that he kind of admitted that there were some distractions and maybe they didn't have the time to really prep the way they should have, and Stockton came out and really punched him in the mouth that night.
Yeah, he was also very quick to not take away from what Stockton did, because they were the better team that night. So just want to preface that, because if some people hear his comments tomorrow, they might take that the wrong way. But I don't think he meant it in the sense that it might come off of how you hear it. But yeah, and then we asked him too, we said, did you learn more about your team from that game or from the very next week when you went and beat a 4A playoff team in Rochelle when you were missing 3 or 4 starters? So, this was a group that recovered very quickly. They got that loss out of their head immediately. And I and all of us had been saying leading up to this game that I don't know that there was a better team playing than Lena Winslow, including Stockton, for the last 9 weeks. So, really impressive performance from Lena. The first half lived up to the billing, and then the second half just looked like like you guys talked about, just Lena Winslow chipping away, doing what they do to a lot of other opponents not named Stockton for years now.
Yeah. And it's the recipe that Lena Winslow follows is it's what we've talked about all year long. It's there's no surprises this time of year. I just think that the execution and that this team ramps up when it gets later in the season. We're talking Aiden Wild, and what he does is so impressive because he's a big body and he can run people over, but he's got some speed. And man, I think what really impresses me is Kyle, we saw it multiple times in that game against Stockton where even if you hit him low and you start to wrap him up, he's got good balance and he's athletic and he twists and turns his way out of a tackle, regains his composure, and he's gone. He can race another 5, 10, 15 yards. It's really impressive what he does. And to complement it, you have Alex Schlichting, who's literally the fastest or one of the fastest kids in the state of Illinois, who, when he finds his way to the outside and gets that edge, he's going to burn a defense. And credit to Stockton. It felt like they keyed in on him. They really limited what he was able to do. But in the meantime, Aiden Wild was just getting his through the middle and really just kind of coming right at him and punching him.
Well, and that's the hard part, because when you take a look at the first time they played, it was Schlichting who was able to get his yards, and it was Wild that they shut down. Yeah. And you're right. This time they wanted to make sure Schlichting wasn't getting his yards, but that inside run game and that penetration they were getting off the ball was the difference that wasn't there the first time back in week 2. And we knew that this was going to be a different game. We all knew it was going to be way closer than the 3-touchdown differential it was the first time around. Most of us felt like we could see Stockton winning, but we are also very hesitant to pick Stockton just for the fact that exactly what we've said over before. It's Lee Wynn's time of year. And honestly, I think there is probably more pressure on Stockton in this game because they haven't been there since 2012. You had probably the entire conference backing Stockton over Lena Winslow just to see somebody new break the streak that Lena Winslow's been on and get a different team down to state. And with that, I don't know if the kids felt that pressure. I mean, we saw them pregame. They didn't look like they were under a lot of pressure of me. I mean, they looked like they were going through their normal routine, and they were very loose and energetic. And to me, both teams looked ready for this game. It just came down to Lena Winslow just won on the line of scrimmage, and both teams left everything that they had out on that field. I mean, you can't take nothing away from either team. I mean, they gave it everything. You could feel the energy. You could feel the pops. It was a hard-hitting physical game. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we heard, ooh.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was unreal how hard-hitting that game was. I mean, I'm not surprised. Obviously, it's the style of play that we have, but they were bringing it, both sides.
Yeah. Well, one of those players for Lena Winslow, Miles Mann, he hit his hits. I mean, those are ones you could feel, you could hear them. He really impressed me in this game. This was my first time seeing Lena Winslow in person. I'd seen video of him, highlights throughout the year. But, man, seeing him up close and personal really, it left an impact on me. I know I'll be watching for him, on the turf at Hancock Stadium.
So, earlier this year, back in the preview shows when me and you did our preview show, yeah, I said to watch for Miles Mann. I said that he was going to be the linebacker that you have to watch for because he's beginning to grow into his own, and he's starting to look a lot like what his brother Brody was as an all-stater on the 2022 team. And you're right. He is definitely lifted up. I mean, he was one of their leading tacklers last year, but this year he's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, he's gotten faster, and I think Surdich had said something when we were on the sidelines, and he goes, man's just flying in there, and he completely bypassed that guy. He said, yeah, but then you got Wild coming around on the backside, and guess what? The little man, Merrick, is sitting right there getting the other tackle too, which allows him to fly around so recklessly per se, but at the same time, he creates so much havoc coming from that linebacker position. And I've said it all year. He plays like a freaking missile. I mean, he just boom.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we saw that. Yeah, definitely saw that. That's a great description for it. So, Kyle, do you have right on hand some of the numbers, some of the big picture here? Because I know that what Wild is doing, what Schlichting has done, that this year and career-wise, they're really leaving their mark for sure.
Yeah. So I got everything updated today, finally. I was only a week, but I was just this week's games behind as far as getting it compiled, but I was like 2 weeks behind from posting everything. So, Aiden Wild, 242 attempts, 2,026 yards, and 32 touchdowns. So he went over the 2,000-yard mark for the season this past week, averaging 8.4 yards per carry. Alex Schlichting, 134 attempts, 1,459 yards, and 19 touchdowns, averaging 10.9 yards per carry. So his average dipped just a little bit by like 0.3 of a yard based off of last week's game. But collectively, those two have now broken into the top 10 all-time in NUIC rushing. Schlichting is at like 3,682 yards, and Wild's just shy of 3,500 right now. So both of them had Schlichting definitely had a better shot at 4,000 than what Wild had coming into the season, but Wild's definitely put up a big year, which is what we anticipated he would be able to do. So it's not a surprise, but yeah, his output coming into the season, he had like 1,451 yards in his career coming into the season, and he's well over that this year. His 2 touchdowns puts him up to 54 career touchdowns. I have not had a chance to take a look to see where that lands career-wise yet. I'll get that information out this week yet, but Schlichting too is sitting almost to 50 career touchdowns as well. So both those guys just doing big things all the way through it. And then quarterback wise, obviously Cash Lessman, and I don't know where my stats went on him. I must have lost them, but he was 12 for 21 on the season for 221 yards, 4 touchdowns to 1 interception, and that 1 interception came this past week. I mean, he only went 1 for 2, and that one pass that he completed was to Kobe Kearns for 22 yards on a 3rd and long situation. Big pickup there, which eventually led to Wild's first touchdown to grab that 2-touchdown lead in the game.
Yep. All right, before I forget to mention it, if you want to check out the highlights from this game that I was shooting on the sideline in Stockton, those are on our Instagram feed. They'll be up on YouTube. They are up on YouTube as well. So go check those out for sure. It's a good look at a game in Stockton, a twilight game in Stockton, right? That 3 p.m. kickoff was real nice. I liked that a lot. That was fun.
It was beautiful. I mean, you got to start in the sunlight. We were able to get our pregame show in live when it was warming up as well. And then we get to move into the game. Sunlight's still out. And then we get to see the dip to the sunset and then darkness. And it was awesome. It was very, very awesome.
All right. So it'll be Friday morning, 10 a.m., that 1A state championship game, Brown County and Lena Winslow. Mitch, I'll start with you. What's kind of your key to this one for both teams, for Brown County, for Lena Winslow? I guess just overall, what are you looking at in this game as being critical?
I think it's going to be about ball control. I think it's going to be 2 teams who are going to look very similar in both their play styles. You're going to see various forms of wing football being played here on Friday morning. Both coaches said it in our coach's call that there's a bit of a you look at each other in the mirror sort of thing, and Coach Aaron kind of joked that maybe they could have played on Monday and the prep wouldn't have been any different because they're used to playing that style, whether it be in practice or whether it be in their conferences. So I think you'll see two teams that look very similar and trying to do the same thing. And one thing that I always go back to when it comes to Lena Winslow, and outside of the Althoff game, because that was different for any number of reasons, but the rule of thumb is, can you be or can you do what Lee Win does better than how Lee Win does it? And Stockton proved that this year. And outside of that, it doesn't happen that much. And so when I look at this, I think Brown County meets half of that equation. I think they are going to look like Lena Winslow. I'm just not convinced that they might be better than them at their own game. And I think that's really what it takes to beat a Lena Winslow team that's coming in that Coach Aaron had said is the healthiest that they've ever been. And that's a scary thought when you're getting into the final week of the year and you're as healthy as you've been all season. So, no, if Brown County is going to win, it's going to rely on their defense being that ball hawk, turnover-minded. You know, we talked with Coach Little. I think it's 12 turnovers in the last 3 games. They hit you hard on defense to force those fumbles. They've got guys who can make coverage plays and get those interceptions. So their defense is certainly going to have to play well, get a couple of turnovers, stop any momentum that Lee Win has going for them. But on offense, they're going to have to go to Trey Fullerton. They're going to have to go to any of their number of backs. They're going to have to rely on Vince Little to retain possession and keep the ball out of Lee Win's hands.
I'm not sure it's saving much suspense, but we will save our picks officially for the preview show when we're at Hancock Stadium. But
yeah.
So
You
Kyle,
can probably get where I'm going. You can probably get where I'm going with that one, but
Yep. Kyle, anything else as far as adding on to what Mitch said, or anything that you see differently?
No, I agree with Mitch. I mean, you're staring down the barrel of the gun at your own image, and with it, you got to rise up to play the champs, and the champs are coming across the ball. Yeah, they haven't won a state title in 2 years, but let's be honest, they've been the odds-on favorite all year, and here they are. And not only that, but if again, go back to our preseason show, we said way back in August, Lena Winslow is entering as a 2-touchdown favorite over the entire field. And it's still where the line stays.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with what Mitch, with what you said. I think that this Brown County defense has to be opportunistic like they have been. A couple turnovers would go a long way. And I think, that ball control, and you got to match that physicality of Lena Winslow. Can Brown County match the physicality for 4 quarters or close enough to 4 quarters to keep them in a game? And, if you're in a game in the 4th quarter, who knows? Weird things can happen. I think Lena Winslow goes in as the favorite, and no surprise there. But that's why they play the game. So we'll make our official picks on Friday morning at about, what do you figure, about 9 a.m., somewhere in there before the game kicks off. So
yep,
that's one more good plug for the live 1A preview show, simulcast on View from the West and NUIC football. And we'll bring you our thoughts and insights into that 1A game. So
when it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
This episode of View from the West podcast is brought to you by Simulation Sports. In addition to golf simulators and batting cages, Simulation Sports provides golf club repair, custom fittings for driver shafts, and even private lessons for golf, baseball, and softball. Whether you're looking for a fun group activity or want to fine-tune your skills and equipment, Simulation Sports has something for everyone. Visit their facility at 400 South Main Street in Monmouth, Illinois, or go to thesimulationsports.com to start playing today.
At Modern Woodmen of America, service is about more than our members. It's about our community, too. We share values that include personal financial security and helping friends and neighbors in need. We're your partner helping you protect your future, and together we're making an impact here in our local communities. I'm Nate Neighbor. Find me on the Modern Woodmen of America website.
Get to know your local Modern Woodmen representative to plan for your financial future and learn about valuable member benefits. Modern Woodmen of America. Touching lives, securing futures. Securities offered through MWA Financial Services, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Modern Woodmen of America.
The View from the West Player of the Week is brought to you by Breedlove Sporting Goods, Western Illinois' premier sporting goods store for uniforms, apparel, equipment, awards, and online team stores. They offer name brands such as Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike, and are extremely responsive with any inquiries. With a primary focus on the western side of the state of Illinois, Breedlove Sporting Goods is the fastest way to outfit your team. You can check them out on Facebook or at breedlovesports.com.
This is Dan Pearson of Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Our FCA team of staff, board, and volunteers is pleased to support View from the West with Greg and Mitch. Our Northwest Illinois FCA team is 3 teams in 1, serving coaches and athletes in the Three Rivers, Northern Illinois, and Greater Peoria areas, all with schools covered by View from the West. For more information, email me at danpearson@fca.org. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
Hey there, local high school football fans. This is Sean Considine, a Byron Tiger and Iowa Hawkeye alumni, and now an LPL financial advisor. I'm passionate about high school football because it's the purest form of the game where communities come together. You can find me in my Byron office until I run off to football practice. I'm happy to talk about football or the markets. I'll leave that up to you. I want to wish everyone across Illinois a safe, successful, and memorable high school football season.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Hey, this is Brett Bielma, the head coach of the Fighting Illini from Prophetstown, Illinois. You're listening to the View from the West podcast.
All right, should we move into Class 2A, boys? Just keep moving up the brackets here. The 2A state championship game at 1 o'clock at Hancock Stadium on Friday. The number 5 seed out of the northern bracket, Wilmington, will go up against the number 9 seed, the Maroa Forsyth Trojans. Josh Jostis and his Maroa Forsyth team back in the state championship game for the second year in a row. They fell short, disappointing way to go out last year against the Chicago Christian team that kind of seemed like a team of destiny at the time. They were a senior heavy team led by a first-year head coach in CJ Cesario. I know, Mitch, you and I talked to him that week before that game and just really were kind of enamored with his energy and his presence and the way that he was leading that program. It just seemed like all his stars kind of aligned. On the opposite side, it seemed like everything at the end of the season was kind of falling apart for Maroa Forsyth. They were really banged up. I believe that they say Ryan Shepard had a broken collarbone trying to play quarterback that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, just things were not going their way for the Trojans. They were not 100%. Weather did not help them either, but, we're talking about a broken collarbone. I don't know the weather is the thing you're worried about. It was more the fact that your quarterback was banged up a year ago. But let's fast forward. Now this Maroa Forsyth team is healthy. They're playing really good football. Josh Jostis back in a state championship game. How many is this, Kyle, for Coach Jostis and the Maroa Forsyth team?
This is the 10th trip since 2006.
There you go. Mitch is fitting all of his fingers in the shot there. So 10 trips, and they've won 2 state titles. Yep.
2.
So, I mean, they are, the perennial power down in the southern half of the state when you're talking small school football. Josh Jostis is a name that we've become very familiar with, and that program we've become very familiar with. Mitch, what were your takeaways talking to Coach, earlier today about this Maroa Forsyth squad?
Well, they're excited to be back. Certainly, it's an expectation for this program, and as you mentioned, they've been here 10 times, and I don't care what your record is when you get to the state championship. It's impressive to get there 10 times, and this group, in talking to Coach, it sounded like a group that has a bit of a chip on their shoulder because of what you just mentioned. That last year they didn't put on their best performance. There were reasons behind that, but they didn't put on their best or didn't have their best foot forward that day. And I think now that they are a little bit healthy, we don't know, and we didn't ask if Zach Smith is going to be playing this game. He didn't play in the semifinal game. Their all-state receiver and leading receiver. But, boy, looking at the numbers and watching how Ryan Shepard plays, like, he is such a dynamic quarterback. He's their leading passer, certainly. He's also their leading rusher. So the offense just rolls through him, and he does it so well. Over 3,000 yards passing. He's got, I think, I don't know how many touchdowns he had in the semifinal game, 2 or 3. So he's up to almost 70 touchdowns this year through the air and on the ground. So
are you serious? 70?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe it's closer to 60. I think he was like,
yeah, he's at 58.
Okay, so he was at like 45 and 15 or something around there. So
either way, that number is jarring.
When you're talking,
either way.
Yeah, when you're talking touchdowns, 60 and 70, what's the difference? But no, a dynamic player. I would love to see his career stats because these last 2 seasons that we've seen them in the state championship game, you know, he's their star for a reason. So this team has talent everywhere. You know, he talked about their line being very young. They've only got 1 senior on the line, but their skill players have been around this program and the success that the program's had for a long time.
Yeah. Kyle, what are your thoughts on Moreau Forsyth here heading into the state championship?
So talking about career stats, Coach Joseph did send those to me earlier this morning, so I'll get those to you, Mitch. It is quite interesting. Ryan Shepard has thrown for 84 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions in his career.
My God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wow.
He's thrown for over 6,000 yards in his career, and obviously still counting. And when it comes down to it, he needs 31 yards this week to go over 4,000 yards on total yards on the season. So that's throwing the ball and rushing the ball. And then on top of that, he has basically rewrote all the offensive records at Moreau Forsyth.
Yeah.
So, like you said, very dynamic. 759 yards rushing on the season with 17 touchdowns, 72% completion rate, 210 completions to 290 attempts, 3,188 yards, 41 touchdowns, 2 interceptions this year.
Yeah. I mean,
and he's only been sacked 5 times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there you go. Credit to the offensive line that Mitch was just referencing. That's an interesting stat as well. But, this Moreau Forsyth team, obviously after making a state title last year, making the game last year, knowing what they had coming back, obviously a favorite throughout this season. But, man, weeks 7, 8, and 9 got very interesting for this team. So they lose in week 7 and week 8. In week 9, they were trailing early in that game, have to rally back. So it seemed like, were the wheels falling off, or there were questions about, at least I was kind of questioning, like, what are we looking at here? Because early throughout the first part of this season, they, to me, were a clear-cut favorite. Now, I should have just trusted my gut, trusted my instinct, and knew that they were going to rally back and make it. But we don't need to talk about predictions that I made back in the playoff preview. But either way, they find a way to right the ship here, and it seems like they're really, they're playing their best football at the right time. Kyle, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in talking with Coach Joseph through text message earlier, and of course listening to his call this morning as well, they ran into some injuries there in that 3-week span towards the end of the season. They're back healthy now, which is probably why we're starting to see them begin to rise up in what their offensive output and stuff are. But they're definitely battling injuries once again, not to the severe state that they had last year, which was something that he wanted to point out as well. Yeah. But Zach Smith, he's over 1,000 yards receiving, back-to-back years over 1,000 yards, has already set the school record for catches, yards, and touchdowns as well. So you combine what Zach Smith's doing compared to what Ryan Shepard's doing, and they're just putting on an offensive clinic, along with now getting back to the state championship game for the second year in a row. They were in the semifinals in 2023, ironically, against Wilmington. They lost 42-7, which, one of the backs for Wilmington that year was a sophomore by the name of Ryan Kampmier, who we're going to hear a lot about coming up.
Well, we'll talk about him in a minute. Yeah.
And so it's no surprise there. I think this is, and I've said this before, I think this is one of the more interesting and intriguing matchups because you have the history of what Moreau Forsyth has been since Jostis has been there. And not just that, but this is their, and I screwed this up on my tail of the tape, but this is actually their 12th state championship game appearance because they are also there in 81 and 83. Where they also were runner-ups then as well. So they've actually been there 11 times. They've won 2. They've lost 9. Yeah. But 10 of them are under Jostis once you get into this year. So obviously their biggest success has come under Coach Jostis. And that in itself is an interesting story because Moreau Forsyth wasn't on the map when he took over the program either. So everything that we know about Moreau Forsyth today has been developed over the 20-year span that Jostis has been there and doing it. And it's remarkable what he's done. And like you said, deep playoff runs every single year. I mean, it's just – We kind of joke about the gold jackets, but it's like, man, those guys, they've earned those jackets. They've earned the patches that they put on those jackets, and the history speaks for itself. And, I told Coach Joseph a while back, it was, he's ran into some good teams with some good teams. I mean, his 2 losses in 2017 and 18 to Gibson City, Melvin Sibley, those were ball games, man. Those were 2 fun state championship games to watch. Unfortunately, GCMS was just able to get them. Now, obviously, they got their asses handed to them by EPC in 2014, DMAC in 2016. Last year, Chicago Christian beat them 47-0. And then, of course, they were there in 09 and 10 against a Morrison team and a Newman team that just rocked them both times too. But in talking with him in years past, the one that he's the most disappointed about is that 09 one. They had a couple players that could not play in that game due to some off-field incidences that had happened, from what I recall. And, he feels like that's the one that got away. But other than that, his teams come ready to battle, and that's one of the fun things that you're going to get out of Moreau Forsyth. They're always fun to watch. It's a different style of offense, but they're so methodical in what they do that it makes it very fun and interesting to watch.
Well, what I think is really fascinating about, Coach Jostis and his career, and you really encapsulated it really well, is that where a lot of small schools that we cover, their coaches will tell you our offense is based around what personnel we have year in and year out, that we don't always know that we're going to have a quarterback that can sling it around effectively. We don't always know that we're going to have the tall, speedy wide receiver, but man, we know we're going to have a kid that can run hard straight through the tackles, And so Coach Joseph, when we asked him about it today in the interview, he said that they make a point, and I know, a lot of teams try to develop that youth program. They make a point of pegging quarterbacks early in their development, right? And they start kind of training them to know the offense, to know how to read these things and know how to run their system. So by the time they get to freshman, sophomore, then certainly that varsity level, they're ready to roll. And now obviously Ryan Shepard is a special athlete. That's one that, that doesn't come around all the time. But I think it's really interesting that where a lot of coaches will go to that power ground run attack, he's really gone the opposite way, and he's found a lot of success, up through, the regular season into the playoffs. And that's what leads to this interesting matchup that we have here against Wilmington, because Wilmington does the complete opposite, and they are such a power ground running team that it's fascinating. So, yeah. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, with what Joseph is doing and helping breed that up, I mean, Wilmington does the same thing. They have their Bobcats that start in like third grade and start working their way up. And that entire process is learning how to run their offense. That way, when they get to junior high and then in high school, they've already been trained on what these plays are. I mean, we did the same thing when I was in junior high at Dakota. Of course, when I was at Dakota, we didn't have quite the success that they did in the later years after I graduated. But when we were in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, we were learning exactly what the varsity was doing. So when we got to freshman year, we didn't have to ask questions. Yep. We already knew what 32 guard trap is. We already knew what wing right was. We already knew what our ace formation was, what our pro formation was. We already knew the receiver route tree and stuff like that. And I think that's critical in what you do in your development and how your successful programs tend to find year after year after year success.
Yep. Well, Mitch, should we get into the Wilmington Wildcats? Because I will say what they're doing this year is, we've talked about it. Is it the most dominating 2A performance we've seen so far? They still have one game left to cap it off, but what they're doing right now is incredible. And the way they do it, it's complete opposite look of Maroa Forsyth, but man, it is equally as effective. The numbers they've been putting up are really eye-popping.
I mean, 5,000 yards of over 5,000 yards of total offense, and most of them, 99.99% of them, are rushing yards. So yeah, it's truly one of the best rushing attacks that we've seen. We talked earlier today with Coach Boyer of Byron and that 2023 team that put up all sorts of records. Man, I would love to compare those two teams and what those stats were like, but that's for another day. But it's one thing to have a running back, like Kampmier, who we just talked about, who, his numbers certainly pop out at you at over 1,500 yards. But when you think of the nature of them running for 5,000 on the season, it's like, okay, well, who's the other 1,500-yard rusher in this offense? Well, there isn't one. There's not even another 1,000-yard rusher in this offense. There is a bunch, 5, 6, 7 guys who are over 500 yards. So the plethora of talent, how they get all of their backs involved is just really impressive, especially when you consider that some of their drives are lasting 1, 2, or 3 plays. So it is fascinating to watch this Wilmington offense operate with the efficiency that they do. And if you've never seen a Wilmington game before, I'm excited for you, because it's quite a scene. It just, if you watch how their line jumps off the ball with every snap, how they beat their opponent to where they want to go, and then here come 3 of the fastest kids you've ever seen getting the rock, and down the field they'll go. So, yeah, an incredibly impressive Wilmington team coming into this game on Friday, early afternoon, I guess I'll say, playing incredibly good football.
Mitch, I know we're excited. I know you're excited for people to check out this Wilmington offense in action. But like I said on the Instant Reacts podcast, I got to admit, I'm a little nervous to shoot video of this Wilmington offense, because if I tend to shoot pretty tight. I want to see the emotion every run. I want to see that tight, detail on every shot. And that leads to I could be burned. I could be fooled once in a while. And I'm really nervous about that Wilmington team making me look kind of silly. So
just watch the fullback.
There you go. I might have to start just a little bit wider than I normally would, just to make sure I'm comfortable getting into it. So
I'll tell you what, I just added it all up, because it's not
breaking news. Here we go.
It's not on the IHSA website yet, but right now they have rushed for 5,673 yards on the season, which is right now sitting good for 4th all time on the IHSA rushing list, and they're within striking distance of the 2023 Byron team that rushed for 5,767 yards.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you called it out, Mitch. That's two teams that we've talked about over the years, and they're definitely in that mix of all-time great offenses.
And if they keep their average going, they're within striking distance of the 2016 Peoria team that ran for 6,148 yards.
That and those Peoria teams.
What a stupid stat.
Man, do you remember some of the point totals those Peoria squads would put up? Unbelievable when they were at their height and at their height of everything. So,
also, just in case anyone wants to prep for Friday, like, go watch that 2023 Byron win over Mount Carmel. Like, just watch how good that was. And some of those kids were freshmen and sophomores that are be playing this Friday. Like, that was. I remember watching that game from home and tweeting the updates as they came in and trying to keep up with whatever records they just broke. Like, that game stands out for me, and I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun game.
Yeah. Yep. All
fun
right.
for someone. Yeah.
Yep. It's fun for Byron. All right.
Fun for Byron.
So we talked to Josh Jostis earlier today. We talked to head coach from Wilmington, Jeff Reins, earlier today. You can check out those interviews on our YouTube channel. But Kyle, I'll go to you first. What do you look at as kind of your, keys to this game? What's the important, critical things that need to happen for both teams or for either one to have success?
So for Moreau Forsyth to have success, obviously they're going to have to withstand the defensive line pressure that Wilmington will bring. And they're going to have to be able to move the ball fast, which kind of works in style with what Moreau Forsyth likes to do. I mean, they don't really throw the ball deep. They're looking for quick action route passes. He called Joseph called it a spread style. He didn't really know what to call it, but really it's more of a pro style offense in a spread style positioning. But they do like to run power counter run, and then they like to get a lot of screen passes, which kind of utilizes it as their run game, and that's what their passing game really does. And then they can get some quick slants as well with those quick screens. But they're going to have to be on point with that. I mean, that's one of the things about Shepard. He's not a tall guy. So he's got to be able to utilize and understand where his players are going to be and just throw to – and it's got to be timely. They got to be working at precision timeliness to where he doesn't really have to look or know. He can just see and go. I think that will lead to a lot of their success if they can quick strike like that. Wilmington, do what you've been doing. You got a trio of your center and guard in Olin, Cutter, and Van Dyne that just continue to be able to pull, open up stuff, trap stuff. And, that's where people don't understand why run teams are so fun to watch, because they don't get to see what the big guys up front actually get to do to create those truck holes that they open up. And this Wilmington team, they open up truck holes. I mean, it is impressive how they can get through and get into the second level, and there's nobody there. They do a great job of sealing that off. They do a great job of pulling, getting out in front. Like Serdich was saying, they're going to run that double wing, and like in years past, you never saw the quarterback run like what Billy Moore does, because he was always doing basically that Delaware double wing style where he's pitching the ball and then turning himself into one of the three lead blockers that they have. And they still do that. It's just that they can utilize more as a run option more effectively as well. So like you said, Greg, it's going to be hard to know where the ball's at. You just got to watch where the fullback's going, watch where the trailer's going, and that's going to tell you where the play's going. But it's easier to see it happening than it is to defend it, right?
Yeah.
What they do actually reminds me a lot of what Forston did in 2016, where they had just a ton of success.
Yep.
They just do it just a tad bit differently, but a lot of the same formats and style of play. It's amazing. And And I think that's where, Wilmington's keys are. They have to be able to win that line of scrimmage. And if they do, it's going to be a long day for Maroa, and Coach Joseph knows that as well.
Yeah, I think for me is, when you look at what Wilmington does, how long can you maintain, defend their offense? How long can you stick with them? Because, man, even if you're effective in the first quarter or into the second quarter, maybe if you get to halftime, by the third quarter, are you able to keep up with what they're trying to do? Because you're getting tired, right? And they're going to keep you guessing, and you're trying to figure out who's got the ball, where they're going, and then you got to still, make the hit, make the tackle. As the game wears on, I think that's where Wilmington has that advantage, that they are so effective running the ball that I think you see it there. Mitch, what say you here?
We're talking keys to the game here, or what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Well, we asked Coach Reitz about this, and he was saying for him, I laughed at the time because he talked about wanting to control the ball and keep Maroa Forsyth's offense off the field. And my rebuttal to that was it's hard to do that when you're on 1 and 2 scoring play drives. So certainly that, implies that you're scoring on those drives, which is fine. But I think it'll be interesting to see Wilmington's defense against this passing attack, given if Maroa Forsyth comes in healthy, if Zach Smith's playing, if the wind's not blowing. I would love to see a Wilmington group at full strength in the right conditions. And Coach Joseph talked about that too during, I don't remember what year it was, one of those championship years that they played. Like he was wearing T-shirt on the sidelines, and they were able to sling the ball around like they want to. So, on paper, this is going to be a heavy favorite for Wilmington. But again, we keep saying it, that's why you play the game. And these are two really, really good teams, two dynamic offenses who happen to get to the same place, just different ways. And I'm excited to watch this game. I really am. Yeah, I think it's the contrast in styles certainly makes it interesting, and it should stand out. So that game, Wilmington and Maroa Forsyth, Hancock Stadium, Friday, 1 o'clock kickoff for that 2A state title game.
Did you get the stylish shoe that he's going to wear?
Yes, Mitch did.
Yes. It was, what did you text us?
The Blueberry 12.
The Blueberry 12s, yeah.
Did he send you a picture at all? Did he give you a shot?
No, I want to get one on the sideline.
Oh, okay. There you go.
There you go.
I want to try and sneak over there and get a picture of his shoes.
Oh man, his collection I sent you guys earlier. Holy cow! I said, hey, I need to get a picture of that, and right away, boom, there it is. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, that was impressive. Yeah, so that's a good preview, a good reminder about the UniView, because Maroa Forsyth rolls out a whole lot of different uniforms. And Mitch, when we're trying to preview what they're going to wear, it's hard when they literally have not worn that combo all year long. They have that many that they can go to.
That's the one that they're wearing on Friday. I believe they have worn, but yeah, that was the point. Yeah,
I had not seen it yet. Okay.
Yeah, white on black. So they have worn that. That's what they'll be wearing. So. But Coach Rose has made that point. Like they're spoiled in that sense that they've got good uniforms. They've held up for years. They try and keep them for as long as possible, and then sometimes they just add into the collection. So yeah, if you play 14 weeks, I think they have at least 14 different combinations that they could wear.
Crazy. All right, so we'll make our picks Friday afternoon before that 2A game kicks off between Wilmington and Maroa Forsyth. All right, let's get into the 3A bracket. And back a little closer to home, a team we've covered all year long from the Big Northern Conference. Byron will be going up against Tolono Unity. That game kicks off at Hancock Stadium Friday at 4 p.m. So Byron got the win over Richmond Burton on last Saturday in the semifinal in the north side of things. And it's Tolono Unity getting the win over their conference rival, St. Joe Ogden. They get the win for the second time this season. This time was a little closer than their game in the regular season, but I guess that speaks to the rivalry and kind of, what it takes to beat a team twice. But it's St. Joe Ogden getting the win, Tolono Unity getting the win 51-44. And it was Byron getting the runaway win 44-10 over Richmond Burton. Let's start with Unity because, I mistakenly said that St. Joe Ogden got the win. They didn't, but they took a lead early in this one, Kyle, and it kind of had us, doing a double take on the phone because they jumped out early. And, the upset was brewing, but, Tolono Unity ended up taking care of business here.
Well, in true rivalry fashion, yeah, this one definitely lived up to what we've come to expect out of these two teams, especially when they get in the playoffs. And that's basically a shootout. Whose offense is going to keep scoring and who's going to get the defensive stand? And early on, St. Joe Ogden was, 14-0 they were up?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
At least.
They got up 2 scores and was like, oh my gosh, what we got going on here? And now all of a sudden we saw Unity take the lead, and it's like, oh, here they come. And then there for a while, Unity at one time was up like 42-19 or 20, something like that. It was like, all right, now they're starting to spread it out. And then St. Joe Ogden came right back. It was like, oh my goodness, this is a game. It's a game, and it was a lot of fun. I was getting updates from Coach Robertson from Bismarck Henning because he was at the game in St. Joe. He's got relatives that play for Unity, so he was there and he was messaging me updates with scoreboard pictures, and I could not believe how high school. I shouldn't say I couldn't believe it. I can because they're both like spread style offenses. But yeah, I was just very impressed with the fight that Coach Skinner and his boys were able to put up and keep battling back against a Unity team that has really been the favorite to get to the state championship game since brackets broke out back in week 9.
Yeah, so, you talked about, Unity trailed this game early, but certainly a pair of pick sixes in the second quarter, that will help kind of flip the tide and flip the momentum. That was a big part of it. But then also when you look at this offense, it really kind of took hold in this game, obviously scoring 51 points. But Dane Eisenmenger, he's thrown for nearly 3,000 yards this season, 33 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. You have Trey Hogard and Tyler Henry hauling in catches for him, and Crew Eckstein has ran for over 1,500 yards on the season. So a lot of offensive weapons there. When we talked to Coach Reitz, first-year head coach there in Tolono Unity, when we asked him in the, coaching conversation, what's the mindset with this offense? And he said the biggest thing we had going into the year was, how do we distribute the football to that many athletes? So I think that was one thing, that they got a lot of talent there spread across the field. Mitch, what are your thoughts here looking at this Unity squad?
Yeah, it's a dynamic offense. Like you mentioned, a fantastic quarterback who likes to sling the ball, and much like Ryan Shepard, who we just talked about with Moreau Forsyth, does not turn the ball over very much. And Coach Boyer was quick to point that out as well when we talked to him about this game. Lots of touchdowns, very few interceptions. I think it was, 33-3 or 30-3, a touchdown to 33-3 touchdown to interception ratio. So, they can sling it as well. 2 really good receivers. Crow Eckstein, a running back who's got, I think it was 1,500 yards on his own. So very, very good offense, capable of hitting you from multiple different options. And it slow start there in their semifinal game. 2 big pick sixes on the defensive side just completely flipped that game around. So, it was great talking to Coach Reitz today. Very cool, story there as well, having been there as an assistant coach and then taking the reins over for Coach Hamilton, and had a lot of pieces stick around that he inherited, both from a player's perspective and a coach's perspective. So yeah, for them to get back and still looking to clinch their first state championship in program history, they're excited for the opportunity.
Well, I mean, they're excited for the opportunity to be playing for a state championship, and they're motivated, especially after you look at last year, the way that they went down in a game where they thought they had completed a Hail Mary against Monticello. It's called back due to penalty to end the game. So I remember, Mitch, we talked about that play on our episodes last year, just talking about it was a wild scene because there's people storming the field prematurely and they have to wave them off. They have to do another play. They feel like they've got the game-winning touchdown. People storm the field again. They have to wave them off again, and there's flags, and it was a wild scene, a heartbreaker there for Unity. And so to get back now to be playing for a state championship, that's exciting for them and their community. Kyle, we talk a lot about this Illini Prairie Conference, and this Unity team is battle-tested.
Yeah, I love the Illini Prairie Conference. Obviously, it's one of those conferences where that style of play is more of a spread style, like we talked about, and you're going to get a lot of big offensive points. But at the same time, there's so much history amongst the team members that are in that conference. Some of those teams used to be in the old Okaw Valley Conference, where Tuscola was at, Moreau Forsyth was in it, and then you had St. Joe Ogden, Tolono Unity in it, and there was at that time, I think it was 2006, you had 3 teams in the state championship game. Maybe it was 2009. One of those years, 3 of the teams were in the 1A, 2A, and 3A state championship games. And I know when that conference disbanded, there was a lot of people that were upset because of the great football that came out of it. Obviously, the part that developed out of that was the Illini Prairie, and some of the bigger schools were able to stay together to create that conference, and it's continued to boast the teams that had come out of the Okaw before. And, obviously Tuscola has gone on to have similar success later on, quite not up to the par that it was from, 2006 to 2011, but nonetheless, still very successful. They have been back to state after that. And then, Moreau Forsyth continues to do what they've done, and they're also into that Sangamo conference that has produced a lot of state caliber teams coming out of that conference as well. So, it's a lot of fun. Definitely a premier conference in the state, and lots of history, and a fun conference to keep track of too.
Yeah. So, we talked about, Tolono Unity now being led by first-year head coach Tony Reitz, longtime assistant, offensive coordinator, now moves into that head coaching role. So he's excited to be playing for a state championship game, leading the school he's been with for a long time. He's also excited to get back to Illinois State. He's an Illinois State graduate, grew up going to Redbird football, basketball games, so he's really excited for that opportunity. That was a cool part of the interview that we heard from him earlier today. Has a lot of ties to Normal and to that community, so for him to get back to Illinois State is exciting. But Mitch, should we flip over to the Byron Tigers, the opponent here for Tolono Unity? It's a team that we knew going into the year. The expectations were high. They fell short, just short in the second round against a really good future state champion in Montini when they went for 2 and the win. And they, like I said, came up just short. The motivation was there. The talent is there. This experienced, talented group of Byron Tigers is there. They're back in a state championship game, and Coach Boyer has them playing really good football. Not hard to see them as a favorite heading into this one.
Yeah, not at all, especially if you watch that semifinal game against Richmond Burton, a team that we came away impressed with, having played 2 teams that we cover in the playoffs, that being North Boone and then Monmouth Roseville, who, of course, we were very, very impressed with and liked in that game against Richmond Burton. And we were proven wrong on that afternoon. So I was able to watch this entire game while you guys were having fun there in Stockton, and it started off slow. Richmond Burton was able to connect on a couple of three different passes on 3 different third downs just to keep moving the chains, and they ended up scoring. And but at one point held a 10-7 lead over Byron, but then there was a fumble recovery. The Tigers had forced a fumble in the second quarter, and that just completely flipped the game, and it turned into a Caden Considine showcase. It really did. Andrew Talbert had a numerous great plays, both in 2-point conversions or just open field runs. And it looked like a Byron group that, when they are clicking on all cylinders, like they do quite a bit, and certainly they have in these playoffs, it's hard to see how you stop them. And you get reminded of what they looked like in that 2023 state game or all season for that matter. So, yeah, it's a team that is really coming in hot. And, Tolono Unity is really going to have to be sharp and disciplined on defense, because I expect Byron to put up a similar performance as it did against Richmond Burton.
Yeah, Mitch, you referenced, Considine and Talbert, and Dawson Criddle's been a name that's come up a lot in the last few weeks and throughout the season. Who's the other running back they just got back from injury?
Yeah, Cole Aiken has come back into the fold recently and looked really good.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you start talking about the depth that they've now kind of added, it's another player that's kind of making their mark there, and so that's really intriguing to follow. Overall, Mitch, your thoughts on this Byron squad heading into a state championship game? We've talked to Coach Boyer today, and to kind of get, into his mindset and the team's mindset going into it. What are your thoughts?
I think they're motivated. I think last year, having lost in that second round game to Montini and the way that they lost, it really motivated this group to get back here. And again, not to keep going back to that 2023 team, but if you watch that game, you'll see some familiar faces and familiar names. So this is a group that has had a big part of sustained success for this Byron Tiger program. A group of players that is hungry to finish the season off the way that they have wanted to finish it off. I think they feel like they would have won 3A last year had they gotten past Montini. I don't think there's really much doubt there. So a motivated group. They want to finish their story and get their third state championship in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Talking to Coach Boyer, and I think it's interesting that, they beat that Richmond Burton squad that was, kind of a power run type of team, similar to themselves. But now you face this Unity team that maybe does things a little more similar to an IC Catholic. So have you been, that now this Byron squad has seen a little bit of both, right? So I think that, Kyle, going into this matchup, this Byron offense, we know it's going to be there, but the Byron defense has been there all year. They've seen multiple looks from different teams, from different parts of the state in these couple rounds of the playoffs. I think they're ready to go, all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, without giving away my pick, I think, realistically, this is a game where Unity's going to have to prove what they are. I mean, yes, they have great offensive players in what they do with Eisenmenger, who's actually a Central Missouri commit, so he's going to go play for the Mules. And then, like you said, Crew Eckstein and Trey Hoggard, definitely guys that are in that game, and then Tyler Henry as well. So they got the names, they got the players, they got the stats. But this is going to be by far the most physical team they have faced all season. And, offensive and defensive line-wise, I don't think this is their best line. I think the 23 and 24 teams had better lines. But what these guys have been able to do and gel has definitely lifted them to another level. And skill-wise, this is by far the best skill set of players I've ever seen come out of Byron. And, we saw them showcase themselves in that 2023 state championship game, along with Braden Knoll in that mix as well. But, we watched Andrew Talbert step out as a freshman and become an instant household name. And Caden Considine was coming off of a freshman year where he ran for 785 yards and 9 touchdowns. so you knew he was going to be something special, but then he runs for 27 touchdowns and 1,630 yards as a sophomore. And, referencing what Coach Boyer said on the coaches' calls today, this is by far his fastest linebacking and defensive back core that he's had. And it's probably the fastest overall team he's had in his entire time or has seen in his time at Byron.
That's a statement. That is a statement in itself. So, Mitch, we'll save the suspense for our picks for Friday, but similar question to Kyle. Thoughts here heading in?
Well, so quick note. So I was just going through Constantine's career yards. 4,737 yards is where he's at for his career. 75 rushing touchdowns for his career, which is tied for 19th all-time in IHSA history currently. 9.6 yards per carry for his career average. And if he's got a ways to go, but if he had like about a 500-yard game, he's going to crack top 20 all-time in IHSA history for career rushing yards.
Yeah. It's remarkable careers that several of those players have had from Byron, and it's been fun to watch. And Mitch, I think it's safe to say we picked the right time to jump in on the Big Northern Conference here. This has been a fun ride and one more game that down there in Normal.
Yeah, it worked out great for us. And to go back to your question about just what I'm looking for in this game, and I mentioned this to Coach Boyer, I want to see this Tiger defense. We talk a lot about their backs and all that and their skill positions, but I want to see how this Tiger defense looks, having come off of back-to-back games where they played an IC Catholic team that likes to throw the ball, and then they can't come in and with their semifinal game against the Richmond Burton team that likes to run the ball. So they've seen it all, and now they're going to see quite a bit of pass, but also throwing a little bit of a run. So they're going to get a mix of what they've seen the last 2 weeks. And so can that defense stay disciplined enough to stay on their assignment, not get beat over the top, not overcommit, not bite, and keep the ball in front of them. So yeah, I think it's a very good Tolono Unity offense. And I think if they are going to win the game, they're going to have to expose this Byron defense, which is easier said than done. But if Byron wants to win, I think they need to somehow keep the ball out of Tolono Unity's hands and keep that rushing attack churning as they have been all year.
Yep. So there you go. There's the look at 1A, 2A, and 3A. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we will have a live stream preview of each of these games before the game kicks off. Those will be simulcast both on NUIC Football's YouTube channel as well as View from the West YouTube channel. We will have full coverage from that day. Kyle, you'll have some live post-game reaction when the players and the coaches take to the podium at Hancock Stadium. I will have highlights, sideline highlights from the games that will get posted that afternoon or that evening. We also will have Zach Shimdog. He's been traveling the state for us all year long, getting highlights, posting them on our X feed in real time. So that's going to be great coverage to add as well. So there you go. Brown County, Lena Winslow kick off the 1A state championship game at 10 a.m. on Friday. Merle Forsyth and Wilmington kick off the 2A state championship game at 1 p.m. Unity and Byron, the 3A state title game at 4 p.m. And then to cap off that day, Rochester will take on Lombard Montini in the 4A state title game at 7 p.m. So we'll talk about that game. We'll talk about the other matchups here. But, Rochester getting back to a state championship game. Derek Leonard leading a squad back to a state title game. Man, they're running into a tough opponent here. Montini, a 3A state champion. They move up to 4A. They look like the favorite going into this one too, Kyle. What say you?
Oh, yeah. I was talking to somebody down in Central Illinois earlier today, and Jack Hall, and he goes, I'm not betting against Derek Leonard, and I get it. I mean, Derek Leonard is 9-0 in state championship games. A few years ago, the University of Illinois was trying to woo him away from Rochester, but he never went. He wanted to stay at Rochester. But you're going up against a Montini Catholic team that is ranked number 5 overall in the entire state of Illinois among all classes. Obviously one of the top Chicago Catholic League teams out there. They're coming off of a state championship, whether people want to like it or not. I know I don't like it per se, but it is what it is. They were the 3A state champs last year. They've also won state championships in 6A too. That's probably why I don't like it so much that they were a 3A state champ.
Yep.
Because I was on the conference call for both Coach Leonard and Coach Bukowski, and Bukowski's also the wrestling coach at Montini, and he's won a bunch of state titles on the wrestling side of things too. So, I mean, as far as what it comes down to for him, and he was an assistant on those teams under Chris Andriano as well. So, I mean, state championship caliber success is nothing new to either of these coaching staffs. And, but this Montini team's just at a whole nother level right now. They're easily a 2 to 3 touchdown favorite going in this game. And it's hard to fathom, but it's not at the same time. And listening to Coach Leonard on his call earlier today, this wasn't the year he was expecting to make it to state. He thought next year was going to be the year.
Interesting. Yeah. I will say this matchup carries 2 heavyweight names, right, in programs when you talk Rochester and Montini. This year in particular, I think it's Montini that kind of leads the way there. I think you're going to see them getting another state championship, and it is what it is. So that's 1A through 4A.
Hold on, I got one more note though.
You got one more note. Go for it.
Yeah. So I did find it funny that, Coach Bukowski didn't know what was going to happen with Montini going into next year. And it's like, hey, bud, you're getting success factor, dude. You're going up another class, which will make a lot of people happy, I'm sure.
Well, yep. So all right, that's a look at everything from Friday's action that will be at Hancock Stadium in Normal. I will say, I will pat us on the back for a minute. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find more comprehensive, informative breakdown and preview of 1A through 3A especially in the state of Illinois. Now, that moving forward, I will openly admit that the 5A through 8A, not exactly our wheelhouse. Mitch, we've talked about Moline when they get into the postseason. We talk about, Quincy when they made their run to the quarterfinals. But, overall, this late in the year, we're very rarely talking 5A through 8A. So I'm going to read through the scores, or I won't read through the scores. I don't know those yet, but I'll read through the matchups. But what I will say, Mitch, is if you want to know a little bit about these teams and what they look like on Saturday, not the X's and O's of what they look like, the uniforms, what they look like, we'll give you that hard-hitting analysis in the UniView preview. That we will give you.
Yeah, for sure. That's really all of the analysis that we bring to the table here for these bigger classes.
Hey,
here we go.
Here's some analysis real quick before
All
you
right.
go. 6 of the 8 are out of the Chicago Catholic League.
Well,
and then you got East St. Louis.
Yeah, you mentioned Lombard Montini coming out of the CCL, and then I was going to say, well, we'll hear more about it when we read through this list, and sure enough, they're all here. So Providence Catholic going up against Wheaton St. Francis in the 5A game on Saturday morning. East St. Louis taking on Fenwick in the 6A game. 7A is Brother Rice and St. Rita. And in 8A, Oswego against Mount Carmel. So I guess I open it up. Any thoughts on any of that, Kyle?
So Brother Rice only has 1 loss on the year, and it was a 13-point loss to Mount Carmel, and we all know that Mount Carmel is the number 1 ranked team in the state. They're also nationally ranked right now as well. So that speaks volumes to the Crusaders of Brother Rice. That's
an
like
interesting. I think Brother Rice and St. Rita are pretty big rivals, right? Like I mean, I know they play in the Chicago Catholic League, but I think they're pretty nearby. They're pretty big Chicago rivals. So it's kind of a fun matchup.
And they played back in week 3. Brother Rice won that game 28-10. So looking at this one, clearly Brother Rice is the favorite going into it. But if St. Rita can clean some things, I mean, you look at St. Rita's losses. They lost to Mount Carmel 35-14. They lost to Brother Rice. They lost to St. Francis. And then they lost to Naz. And Naz just lost last week, obviously, trying to go for, what, a 4-peat?
Yep.
And then your other 2 of your 3 other losses are the teams that are playing this weekend.
Yeah. We're talking about, we haven't mentioned Fenwick yet, but I think they're a team to mention. They've played well, but man, I don't know anybody that can match up with East St. Louis right now in the way they're playing. I've seen some of the clips that, Gateway Sports Venue and our friend John Huff puts out there, and they're a different level. They're something else.
So East St. Louis is number 2 in the state, right behind Mount Carmel. And East St. Louis has played a national schedule, of which Mitch has already mentioned. Their 3 losses are to Bishop Gorman,
Bergen Catholic,
and IMG.
It's insane. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, on the flip side, Fenwick comes into this game at 10-3, and they played Mount Carmel tough. They lost 35-28, but even in a tough loss to Mount Carmel, East St. Louis just, like I said, they just look like they're on a different level.
It's probably why Coach Sunkett did get on the coach's call. He didn't want to say nothing. He didn't mean to.
So we expect that Jordan Lynch is bringing home another state championship there in 8A?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
If he doesn't, it'll be an upset.
Yeah.
That'd be 4 in a row.
Yep. They need to make a 9A.
I was going to say, they can't move up to 9A. So
I'm kidding. That'll get us into a whole nother spark of conversation.
I know. We're not going another hour doing that whole debate. So anyway, all right, boys, with the talking may be done for right now, but plenty of talking to come in the next week. So I can't wait, man. I can't wait for the road trip and to get to Hancock Stadium and start breaking down, talking about covering this 1A through 4A state title games. Kyle, you're headed up Thanksgiving evening, correct? You're getting there the night before?
Yeah, I got to go get my Cracker Barrel dinner. It's about the only restaurant that's open in the Bloomington Normal area on Thanksgiving, but it's a great place to go have dinner, I'll tell you that. So we're going to make plans to probably go down around 3 o'clock, get checked in around 5 o'clock, and then head to dinner.
There you go. Well, we will meet you bright and early at the hotel about 7 a.m. Mitch, you hitting the road at what time's the alarm going off on Friday morning?
Probably 2:30.
Okay.
What time are you going to bed is the important question.
It's true.
Here's the plan is I'm going to try and just, in typical Thanksgiving fashion, right? I'm going to try and stuff myself, just stuff myself silly. And hopefully by the time the Bengals game kicks off at 8, I'll just be, sawing logs on the couch and be ready to go at 2 a.m. That'd be great.
So you're not even going to get in bed. You're just sleeping on the couch.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, I say that, and I think last year I went to bed at midnight. I'm pretty sure I went to bed at midnight.
Oh, man.
And just took a nap, and then woke up and on the road. The thing is, you're jacked up.
Yeah.
Your adrenaline kicks in immediately, and I'll be floating to normal there on Friday morning.
Oh, man, I can't wait. It's the best day of the sports year, I think. It's a great day of high school football coverage. And this year, a unique wrinkle for me. For the first time, my son has a press pass, has media credentials. He'll be on the sidelines, helping me shoot some video, helping us with our coverage. He's really excited as well. So he's got his own little taste of high school football this season, and he's he's really amped up. He's been following me on the sidelines this year and helping out, shooting some video of his own, and he's ready to go. He's ready for that state title appearance. So
hey, he didn't come up in our production meeting last night.
I did. I wrote him in the notes, but that's true. I didn't.
I'm kidding. That'd be child labor laws.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
That's true. No, I'll pay him with dinner, and he'll probably get a T-shirt out of the deal, or something. So.
Well, you got to give him the good stuff so he can enjoy the trip and get some swag while he's at it.
Oh, he'll get. Whatever time we're leaving in the morning, I'm sure he'll get, maybe we'll get breakfast pizza on the way and all the good stuff. So, yeah. But, all right, boys. Well, I appreciate you jumping in, and I appreciate everyone who listens, who follows along. Of course, go out, check out the coaches' conversations that we have for every coach in the 1A, 2A, and 3A games. We got that UniView episode that we've been hitting hard all episode. That's available out there to check out. It's a ton of fun. It's kind of our little annual tradition come state championship time. But then come Friday, we'll be live from Hancock Stadium multiple times that day, bringing you all of the, info you need, the previews, the breakdown, the analysis, the highlights, everything. So I can't wait. Can't wait to provide the coverage to all especially the small school football people that are around the state that just love it. We'll be there to provide that content on Friday. So thanks a lot to everyone who listens. Thanks to everyone who follows along. And we'll talk to you in Normal, Illinois. That'll do it for this week's episode of View from the West. Thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to go out to Apple Podcasts or Podbean and subscribe so you can follow along, and downloads will come automatically every week. You can follow along on Twitter at ViewFromWestPod. You can also email me if you're interested in being a sponsor, viewfromwestpod@gmail.com. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.